It happened at my mother-in-law's Christmas brunch. The table was long and gleaming, laid out like a spread from a glossy magazine, sparkling glasses, silverware aligned with military precision, plates stacked with quiche and pastries that no one but Bernice actually liked. The air smelled like cinnamon and fake cheer. I sat at the end of the table, trying to blend in, feeling the weight of the room's practiced smiles. My daughter, Isla, sat beside me. Her hands were folded neatly. In her lap, wearing her favorite gold dress, the one that always made her eyes glow like warm honey. She looked up at me now and then with a shy smile. The one that said, "I'm trying, Dad." I squeezed her shoulder gently, letting her know she wasn't alone. Bernice, my mother-in-law, was holding court at the head of the table. Her laughter was sharp and bright, her diamond clip-ons catching every light. Adrienne, my wife, sat next to her, eyes down, fingers twisting her napkin like it was a lifeline. Every so often, she'd glance my way, an apology hidden behind her carefully painted lips. I'd gotten used to that look over the years. I tried to focus on Isla, on the way she traced the edge of her plate with her finger, lost in her own world. She'd worked so hard on that little red box, her secret project that I'd only glimpsed in fragments, a flash of crimson tucked under her pillow, a whisper of folded paper she refused to share with me. "It's just in case, Daddy," she'd said, her eyes serious. I hadn't pressed her. Isla was a bright kid, but she'd learned too early that sometimes grown-ups didn't play by the same rules. Bernice had taught her that. Laughter rang out from the other end of the table, brittle and rehearsed. Someone, probably Bernice, told a joke about Christmas shopping, the kind that makes you laugh even when it's not funny, because you're supposed to. I sipped my water and watched Isla's hands tremble as she reached into her coat pocket. The box was there, the corners worn soft from all the times she'd held it, waiting for a moment like this. Her small fingers wrapped around it, and she slid it across the table toward Bernice. Her movement was calm and deliberate, her face unreadable. "Grandma," Isla said, her voice carrying just enough to catch the attention of the room. "Dad told me to give this to you if you ever ignored me again." The table froze. Even Bernice's laugh, the one that usually trailed off like a chime, got stuck in her throat. Her eyes, sharp as the diamond clip-ons, darted to me, then to Adrienne, and finally back to Isla. For a heartbeat, I saw the woman beneath the polish, the one who couldn't imagine that a child would stand up to her. She gave a small, nervous laugh. "Oh, honey," she said, voice dripping with condescension, "I would never ignore you." But Isla didn't flinch. She just sat there, hands folded, chin up, like I'd taught her. She didn't need to explain. The box said everything. Bernice hesitated, the mask slipping for just a second. Then she picked up the box with a hand that trembled more than she wanted to admit. She peeled the red paper carefully. The hush at the table was thick enough to choke on. Adrienne's eyes were wide and wet, but she didn't move. I held my breath. The paper fell away, revealing a simple red box, the kind you'd find at a craft store. Bernice lifted the lid, and the room split open. A scream ripped from Bernice's lips, sharp and raw, the kind of scream that didn't belong at a Christmas brunch, that didn't belong anywhere polite society gathered. She dropped the box as though it had bitten her, and the contents spilled across the table. A framed photo of me holding Isla in the courthouse, the day the judge signed the adoption papers. Beneath it, Isla's adoption certificate, crisp and undeniable. And at the bottom, a letter folded carefully, written in my hand. For a moment, no one moved. Then Bernice's eyes darted around the room, seeking an ally. But everyone else was frozen, eyes glued to the table, to the box, to the truth that had landed like a brick in the middle of their perfect holiday. Bernice's face went pale. Her lips twitched as if she might speak, but no words came out. I looked at Isla, her eyes steady and bright, and felt something shift inside me. She'd found her voice, her place at the table, and she wasn't giving it up for anyone. Not even Bernice. Especially not Bernice. Adrian's fingers unclenched from her napkin, but she didn't say a word. I didn't expect her to. This wasn't her battle anymore. It was ours, Isla's and mine. The bond we'd forged in courtrooms and bedtime stories, in scraped knees and whispered secrets. No one could erase that. Not even the matriarch of a family that had never really wanted us. Bernice's eyes found mine, rage and shock mixing like oil and water. How dare you? She spat, her voice cracking under the weight of her own guilt. But I didn't flinch. I leaned back in my chair, my hand on Isla's shoulder, and let the moment hang in the air. Because this was the moment everything stopped. The moment the charade cracked open, and the truth bled out for everyone to see. No more fake laughs, no more polite silences, no more letting Isla think she was anything less than mine. The moment everything stopped, and finally began. But it was everything else, the small things that add up and pile on top of each other until they feel like a mountain. It was how Isla's name was always last on the list, an afterthought, scribbled in shaky ink, as if Bernice was already apologizing for it. It was the way Isla's birthday was always sandwiched between family vacations and school events, so Bernice could skip the party and say, "Next time, sweetheart." It was the way Isla would get a half-hearted pat on the head, while the other kids got bear hugs and whispered secrets. I saw it most at those sleepovers, the ones Bernice planned for the cousins, matching pajamas, movie nights, popcorn, and giggles echoing down the hall. Isla would watch from the door, her eyes wide and hopeful, her small overnight bag already packed. But when the invitation never came, when the cousins spilled into the living room carrying sleeping bags and laughter, but no extra pillow for Isla, she'd fold her hands in her lap and say, "It's okay, Daddy. I have my own bed." And I'd sit beside her, my heart splintering. In places I didn't know existed, Adrian would try to explain it away. "She means well," she'd say, her voice small, as if even she didn't believe the words anymore. She'd smooth Isla's hair and add, "Grandma just forgets sometimes." But Isla wasn't stupid. She'd look at Adrian with those big brown eyes and ask the question that tore through me every time. "Am I just here because you married Dad?" I'd hold her tight and tell her no.